This is Bare Bones with Jessy and B.
I'm Jessy.
And I'm B. And we are so grateful to all of you that have given us such beautiful feedback about our first episode. It's just been really moving, and we are just kindly asking that you rate and review our podcast wherever you're listening to it, whether it's on Spotify or Apple or YouTube. Subscribe, give us however many stars you feel, and we would greatly appreciate that.
And share with your friends, share with your family, share with anyone that you feel would resonate with what we have to say.
Beautiful. Okay, so welcome to our second episode. We are super excited to share with all of you this Sobrietysode today.
Yeah.
This is something that really resonates with both of us so dearly in really different ways. So what today is going to look like is we're going to be talking about our different experiences with being sober from alcohol and other substances. We're going to be talking about our spiritual journeys in that as well. We're going to give you guys some tips and just different applicable things. If you are thinking about being sober, or maybe you're in your sober journey already. We just wanted to give you some tips, and then we will end with a nice little breathwork meditative session.
Right. I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah. Before we get into it though.
Yeah.
I was
gonna say, yeah, we just want to preface everything with, this is coming from a place of no judgment. This is just our specific journeys and the way we move through them.
Yeah. So no judgment to any of those of you out there who possibly drink or use any other substances. No judgment. You do you. This is just what's working for us.
Right. Perfect.
Cool, okay. Baby.
All right. Well, I guess it's me now.
You're up.
I'm up.
Tell us about your experiences with alcohol, I guess. Let's start there. Maybe what's a brief history of your relationship to alcohol and other substances?
A brief history. I really started drinking in the military. I was in the military for 8 years, and I was very young. I joined when I was 18, and that is just drinking in the military is so prevalent. It's just part of the camaraderie with people that are serving. So you're just kind of in the midst of that right off of, the bat, right? When you get in, that's just the way things are. And that's kind of how you get accepted into certain groups. And I really found myself drinking, in the military.
Heavily.
Partying. Went through my party phase. And, it really, I think, the heaviest days of my drinking were when I was in Germany. So that had a lot to do. Same thing, just camaraderie thing. And that's just what people did. You traveled and you'd drink, and then you'd come back home and you'd drink. And, that also stemmed from the relationship that I was in, during that time. And also really the relationship that I had with myself. So, And then, when I came back home from overseas, I moved to Maryland, and I didn't drink for a year. And then I moved to Florida, where it's sunshine and the beach, and there's beach bars, and just it's just kind of the thing to do. And then I found myself slowly going back into that, oh, I'm just gonna order a drink here, and then it just kind of spiraled a bit from there.
Were you drinking as heavily when you moved to Florida, as heavily as you were when you were in the military?
Not quite, but almost.
Okay.
Not quite, but almost on the same level. Yeah. And it was all about my, the people that I was meeting, like all the friend groups that I had it was just surrounded by alcohol and going out and partying, and that was just the thing to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was my experience like around alcohol. And that was, a long period of my life, really. I mean, that was like 10 years of my life of of drinking pretty heavily.
Yeah.
So
That's a long time.
it is a long time.
Yeah. My relationship with alcohol is very different. Very different. So like I started drinking when I was like 19, so like similar age to you. But I was in college then, and I went to, a state school, party school. Everyone was drinking, and I was such a goody good in high school. And I was pretty like, I had a helicopter mom. Shout out, mom. Hi, mom.
Hi, Sylvia.
And so I wanted to experience like kind of like a rebellious side that I hadn't before. And so, I was always pretty like shy and quiet, the girl like in the corner reading the book. And I discovered that when I drank, I became the life of the party. And I was experiencing myself as I never had before. I was much more extroverted. I was able to talk. People were really liking me. I was really vibing with people. And, then that sort of snowballed into like, okay, like I need alcohol to be fun. I need alcohol to be more of myself.
Right.
Yeah, and that gets really dangerous, especially over time. I remember talking to therapists too in college, and I had like a little bit of concern for myself just because of like the different situations I would end up in. And I remember a therapist saying to me, like, it's just a phase. Once you go to grad school, it's gonna die off. Like everyone goes through this. It's gonna be fine. And that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like it progressively got worse and worse and worse, and and then I really started to use alcohol, not so much to like have fun and party, but to like soothe my anxiety. Like I have like mental health issues, and with my anxiety comes a lot of racing thoughts. And so alcohol does this really beautiful thing, actually. At least it did for me, where it took that voice in my mind that was judging me, that was criticizing me, that was like, oh, it was so loud. It just took it away.
Right.
It was gone. Like I didn't have to think. It was actually beautiful.
Yeah.
So like just reflecting on that now in this moment, I'm like, no wonder I used alcohol in this way for like upwards of 8 years.
Right.
It really, helped me in some ways.
It's a coping mechanism.
100%.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But, then it got me into like just a lot of dangerous situations. And then, I just endured more trauma because of that. And then in turn drank even more. It was just like, it was a lot.
Just a toxic cycle.
Extremely. Yeah. Yeah. I had a toxic relationship with alcohol. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Very different from yours.
So what what made you want to get sober?
I think everything had just finally come to a head. I was in a really abusive relationship, like physically, emotionally, mentally, all of that, spiritually even. And then I had realized too, like my behaviors, it became very obvious to me that I was going to kill myself or someone else.
Right.
And that scared me. And it started seeping into my work too, like anything that like affected my career or my work, that was like a huge indicator to me, because at that time that was the most important thing. So when it started affecting me like cognitively, and I couldn't really remember a lot, and it started affecting me physically, like I would get the shakes and stuff, going through like physical withdrawal symptoms, that was like, okay, wow, but people had told me, years leading up to this, friends, family, how concerned they were for me, but that wasn't the thing that got me, that it wasn't the light bulb for me. Like, oh, I should get sober now. So, you don't see it until you see it with addiction. You just don't, and you can't do it for someone else. You can talk to them till you're blue in the face, and they're not going to get it until they get it. It certainly can help, but
it's not always the answer. You have to find like that answer within yourself.
Totally. Totally. So what made you get sober?
I just kind of there was like a calling within me, I've talked about this with you a couple times before, but I just had this calling to do wholesome things. And I remember the friend groups that I was in, and I kept saying it. I was like, and it never left the group chat. Like, it never left the group chat. It was always like, we're going to talk about doing all these wholesome things, but we're actually not going to go do them. We're actually just going to go to the bar that we normally go to and like drink and party until, the wee hours of the morning, and then feel awful the next day. And then I just was like, why am I doing this? And then I kind of really like went internal, and I was like, wait, like, I don't think I've ever actually like chosen, because it's never really been my idea. I don't really find drinking like super fun. Like, I mean, it can be fun in the moment, but like
super fun.
It was never it was never like my idea, like, let's go, rage.
We were so the opposite, dude. Yeah. That was me every time. I was like, yeah, let's go. Hit up the bar, even at like 8 a.m. sometimes.
Yeah.
Being so wasted from the night before. And then in the morning, hair of the dog, like, let's keep the party going. Like, I was a wild child, dude.
Maybe when I was younger, I will say when I was a little bit younger and I was stationed in Washington, like, the group of friends I had then, like, it was like we partied the night before, and then we'd wake up in the morning and go somewhere else and like party a little more. So it's like, I had those moments, but it wasn't like consistent.
Yeah.
So it was just like really having that like epiphany. I was just like, I was like, wait, why am I doing this? I actually don't want to drink anymore. Like, I'm only doing it as like a social crutch. And so I just like made the decision. And initially it was just going to be like a challenge to myself. I was like, oh, I'm just going to be sober for like a year and then see how I feel. And then it actually very quickly turned into, I'm never drinking again.
So what made you decide that?
Just how I felt in my body, the connection, it opened so many doors to like other opportunities, other friendships, and just like loving myself. There was just that shift, I was just like, I don't want to poison my body. I don't like the way I feel after I drink. I don't like, what this could do to me years and years down the road. Like, I was looking ahead to the future too.
Totally. I don't miss those hangovers, man.
No. No. And I felt like the older I started to get too, I was just like, it was 3 business days before I felt good again.
Yeah, exactly. So
I was like, I can't hang anymore. So that was like, part of the reason too.
Yeah, man, it got super exhausting.
Very.
Super exhausting.
So exhausted all the time. Yeah. And then it was also this mentality of like living for the weekends to go drink, And I like wanted out of that so bad. I didn't want to live for the weekend. I didn't want to live to go to the bars. I didn't want to live to go drink and like not remember anything. I wanted to like live for wholesome moments with people that like I will always remember and cherish. And Yeah.
Yeah. It's not what you're talking about. Like, it's not super fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I remember it was not all doom and gloom for me. Like, I
Right.
remember some really great
Yeah.
moments drinking, and like, it was super fun, but
Mhm.
also like as a whole, like I wasn't fulfilled.
Right.
Even when I was having fun and like
Mhm.
reflecting on that, it's like there's not actually a lot of substance here.
Right. There's no growth. There's no expansion. There's no
No.
leveling up.
No.
It's
No,
a
no,
lot
no.
of staying like very much in the same place.
Correct.
And then, yeah, I mean, that was a part, you know, we'll kind of get into like, you know, once you make that choice to be sober, there is an awkwardness to it. Like so much awkwardness. You know, I was still trying to be sober and go out with my friends still and like go to the bars and like drink a Red Bull, drink some water, you know? And then I remember this one instance really vividly. We were in this bar and like we were walking like through the dance floor and like to the other bar, and I just was like, you know, extremely sober, and I'm looking around the room and just like looking at all these like people, and I'm like, I was like, wow, like I feel really sad right now. Like, yeah, it just like was very overwhelming to me, and I was just like, I do not belong in here anymore. Like this is just, and then I just never went back into a bar.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can feel the energy, I think, in a bar, you know, and once I became sober, I wasn't ever going to really go back into a bar. That just wasn't an option for me, but it can feel pretty dense vibrationally.
Right. It was very depressing.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, wow, like I feel like everybody is in here, you know, drinking for a reason. And like, I feel like I could feel it. I was just like, oh man, like you're depressed. You're like sad about something. You just probably got dumped. Like, you know, like I was just feeling all of this stuff. And I was like, I don't want to be here. This is not an environment that is like suitable for me anymore.
Well, that makes sense. You became so much more aware, obviously, and conscious, especially if you're not drinking. And then your like intuitive abilities and your empathic skills are like kicked up, and that's a lot of energy to be taken in.
Well, then it's like, you know, it was like I said, you go through this awkward stage, you know, you're no longer drinking, and like, you know, you're finding other places to go, and like you can't use alcohol as a crutch anymore. Like I remember the first time I went to this like ecstatic dance event, and I would like, my body was like refusing to move. I was like, I can't. I remember specifically saying like, I'm too sober for this. Like I can't do it. And then I, you know, it gets less awkward over time. And then it was like so powerful when I eventually like started dancing and like not caring what anybody thought. Just in my complete sober mind.
Yeah, I think it's important to just like keep going through that awkward phase, because I had that phase too, you know, and I was so dependent on alcohol. It was like, I'm not going to be fun if I'm not drinking. Like, I'm going to be boring. There's nothing to do. What is life? I don't know. I'm just going to eat all my feelings, because I don't know, a lot of people that have issues with drinking, like addictions, they'll they turn to sweets. That's why there's always like candy and stuff at AA meetings. So I turned to sweets for a while, but no, it's important to just stick through that and get creative. And you just get to discover different parts of yourself and like trying new things. And that can be super awkward. You know, it's a transitional phase.
Totally. So what were some things that, you know, you discovered after you made it over that like awkward hunch about yourself? Like, did you pursue any different like passions or?
I did. You know, I started to like tap more into creativity. So I like started to paint, because I liked to do that when I was a kid. And so I was like, okay, like maybe I'll try this. And it served me for a while. It was really fun. And I was just totally, I got to transcend and lose time and space and get really just like in the moment. Gardening was a big one for me. I had never gardened before, like growing up in Arizona, like, no, that just didn't happen. But that was really cool to like reestablish a connection with nature in that way. And oh my God, wow, I can like grow something, and like just watching it over time, like that was really beautiful. What about you?
It kind of goes like after that awkward hunch, it really rolls into like the self-love portion for me. I really started like going to the gym like very consistently, and I was just like feeling so good and spending more time like doing things I love, like going to the water. I was like at the beach every single day. I was going on walks by the water every single day. It's going to like watch the sunset. I found this really cool sound bath event, and then I started going to those consistently and really like tapped more into like my spiritual side.
Yeah.
And that was just like, it felt so good. I just felt like a totally different person.
Yeah. Well, because you were.
Yeah. And I mean, really, we've talked about this too before, is we manifested each other, through self-love and through our journeys. And, we totally would have missed each other if we didn't choose sobriety.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Because that was like, one of the things that I was looking for in a partner. I was like, I want to be with someone who is as sober as I am.
Me too. That was,
It was so important.
That was very important to me. And also like someone that was, had some sort of connection with spirituality.
Right.
Because actually, like when I first got sober, maybe like a few months after getting sober, I started to get into meditation. And I remember the first time I like sat down to meditate, I vividly saw, and this doesn't happen to me all the time. Actually, this rarely happens to me. And I meditate pretty regularly. But I vividly saw a deer, and I saw this beautiful like forest, and my pineal gland was like totally waking up, and I was just like, whoa. Yeah. It was so beautiful. I just remember crying. I was in my apartment and I was just crying. I was weeping, like, oh my God. It just felt so sacred and so like, what the hell, And so backtrack, when I was drinking, and, pretty much all through my adulthood, I identified as an atheist. I did not believe in anything after death. I did not believe in God. I did not believe in like a universal consciousness or collective like I was totally shut off. Right. So for that to kick back on, and so like, I don't know, in the way that it did, it just slowly I started to open up to like, okay, there's something bigger happening here. Like I am here for a purpose. There's something connecting all of us. And I started to notice all these different synchronicities, and I would find these different threads, and it became like very exciting. Like something was turning back on.
Right. I love that. I love that you said that. Because I was very much in the same space too, for a really long time. I grew up very Christian, in a Christian household, Baptist specifically. I was like, a church kid, and then, a topic for another day is, the rejection from the church. So that totally shut down, my religious spiritual side. And then that was shut off for many, many years. And then, like I said, during that same time frame that I was feeling this calling to do more wholesome things and like potentially get out of these friend groups, like I started praying again. And like I remember the first time I prayed, I was very much the same experience you had, like I was just like weeping uncontrollably. Yeah.
What did you pray about?
Everything. I just like needed clarity in my life. And I was just, you know, it was just very powerful to pray again. So
that's beautiful. You didn't tell me that.
Yeah. But I was very blocked off. I didn't believe in anything. I was just like, well, I think you die and nothing happens. Like,
yeah.
it just,
you're just gone.
You're just gone. Things go black and
you just don't go black.
And you don't come back.
Yeah. You just see black and then that's it.
That's it.
And now we know that our soul is eternal.
It's eternal. It's infinite. It's infinite.
Yeah.
So yeah, Voodoo, she's tapped in. She knows.
Voodoo just perked up. She's sleeping in between us. But yeah, that was like a little sign. That's cute.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, like spirituality, obviously huge when it comes to like our journeys in terms of being sober and you know what's sort of keeping us sober and you know just reestablishing that faith in like yourself, in life, in the cosmos, whatever it is, God. Like there is aliens. That's a topic for another day, but that was a
whole episode.
That was something that really turned on for me after I started to tap into meditation, and then I started working with a manifestation coach. Then I started learning about my galactic family, and that was like
mind-blowing.
I can't even put it into words.
Right.
I can't even put it into words.
Right.
Yeah, that is a topic for another day. Okay.
Yeah, but I definitely, spirituality is, I think, between the two of us, like what keeps us totally sober.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, each other. You know, I feel like my spiritual side has definitely deepened since meeting you, loving you.
Same.
You know,
definitely deepened. It's become much more rich to like share all of this with another person. Love you.
I love you.
Okay. So just kind of like moving into like the application piece, you know, maybe you are someone who is newly sober, or maybe you're kind of like thinking about sobriety or kind of questioning your relationship to alcohol or any other substance. You know, I've struggled with other substances too. So, you know, I'm just kind of lumping them all together. But, so just some applicable, maybe like tips or just some guidance for people.
Some guidance. I mean, some things that have helped me personally is just who you associate with at the end of the day. I mean, so surrounding yourself with like-minded people, you know, you can't, at least in my experience, I was not able to successfully be sober hanging out with people who were still drinking.
Same. Man.
So it's all about your environment, who you're surrounding yourself with, and choosing yourself.
Yeah, choosing yourself and choosing, you know, a higher version of you.
Right.
Ideally, your highest self, you know.
And another helpful thing for me personally is a tracker. You know, it's a little dopamine hit. Every time I look at it, I'm just, you know, I'll go a couple weeks and I'll like look at it and be like, whoa.
What's the tracker? Tell the people about the tracker.
The tracker is the Nomo app. NOMO.
And this is not an ad.
This is not an ad. No, we are not affiliated with them. But, you know, I have had quite a few people reach out and ask, you know, what app I use, because I post it, you know, and it's the Nomo app. Like I said, it's like a quick dopamine hit every time you click it and you see and you're like, wow, and just like tracking your progress, and it just feels so monumental and you just feel so proud of yourself with every passing day.
Very nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, you like checking that.
I
It
do.
is a dopamine hit. I'm glad you're aware of that.
Yeah.
Well, something that's just been monumental for me to like stay on course with
Mhm.
my sobriety is a daily practice.
Mhm.
Typically for me, that's in the morning. I'm trying to do morning and evening practices now and rituals, but that can be difficult.
Yeah.
But a morning practice for me has been like key.
Mhm.
Whether that's like, it's evolved over the years too. And you got to change it up sometimes. Because if you're,
Right.
at least for me, if I'm doing the same thing every day for like months and months and months, I'm going to get bored. I'm going to feel resistance. I'm going to be like, I don't want to do this. And then I'm going to like kind of stray away from it. So changing it up is important. But, that could be yoga, meditation, breath work, quantum flow, journaling. Sometimes these days I'm getting up and I'm reading because that's what brings me joy. Like stuff that really just is bringing me joy, and then also like clearing your mind, clearing your emotions, stuff that gets you like to your center point. It's important, I feel, to be disciplined with something like that. But that's my Capricorn moon coming out right now. So some of you might not like that, but that's just who I am. Lots of discipline.
So much.
Yeah, I mean, some other things like we talked about is like our connection to spirituality, my connection to source, my galactic family, my angels, like that's the number one thing, that keeps me sober, and that's, helped me. I see my daily practice as a part of me connecting with my highest self, source, all of that, it's all intertwined for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also for me is something that's coming to mind is just like my connection to myself.
Yep.
There's just like this deep, deep love that I've never had for myself before that I have now. And the thought of like losing that, it's just not worth it.
No.
Ever.
And you have control over that. Yeah.
Complete.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's making me think of, when you choose yourself, when you choose spirituality, if that's on your path, if that resonates, then I think naturally, like, you are in alignment, or you are getting closer to your divine path, your divine purpose. And that is what really fills you up, getting on that path and wow, on that track is just like, then you're waking up every day with like a purpose, with excitement. Like, this is what I'm here to do. We all have unique codes for our own purpose. And to get in touch with that and to remember who we truly are, I mean, that's why we came here. So that is the most fulfilling thing.
Absolutely.
And this podcast is really, I feel like, in alignment with our shared mission and our and our purposes. So that feels really amazing to be tapping into that right now.
It does, yeah. I feel so connected.
Same, babe.
Okay. Anyway,
we talked about I'm getting long-winded here, but I have like a lot of passion. So
I know you do.
You might want to edit some of this, but we're just gonna flow with it.
Okay.
So, talking about like newly getting sober and like, what now? What do I do with my time? Like planting trees. Like I said, I got into gardening, but then I got on this path of, listening to this really amazing guy on YouTube, actually. And his name is Jason Estes. And he was talking about his tree planting initiative. But he wasn't just planting any trees, he was planting these trees with something called a source seed. And they're tiny little magnetic beads that you plant underneath the root of the tree. And they help the baby tree, the sapling, grow faster. And the source seeds help like connect the trees already communicate with one another, but it helps that communication be streamlined even more. And it also helps with decreasing extreme weather patterns and just communicating with the atmosphere. Like they're just, it's amazing, technology. It's fantastic. And the results are there. There's science there. And hearing him talk about that, I just felt something in my heart shift. And I was like, I've never planted a tree in my life, but I want to be a part of this movement. So I felt that call, talk about purpose and being fulfilled. So I stepped up to be a team lead, and to just take on planting 1,000 trees, even though I'd never planted one. And it was it was the coolest thing that I got myself into, and I'm still doing it. And, we've done that together, and it's been pretty beautiful and amazing. So there's a really spiritual connection, that we have with the trees. And, go out and hug a tree. Don't worry about how you look.
Don't worry about how you look.
I made you do it on one of our first dates.
It was our first date. We walked past a tree, and then I was just like, what?
I think it was our third date. Yeah.
I think it was the third date.
And I just started hugging a tree, and you were just
I was open. Okay. I was open.
There were people around, but go do it, because it can make you feel really good, and you can put your heart right up to the tree, and you get in touch with it, and you can give back to the tree. I sound like such a hippie right now.
You are.
I'm speaking from the heart. That's what everyone says. I don't identify that way. I don't like labels, man. But no offense to any hippies out there. But it's just plant trees, hug trees, appreciate trees, because they have this divine wisdom and intelligence that I don't even understand, but I feel some of it, and I'm opening up to more of it. I feel every day, and I love trees. Okay. Oh, I don't know where that came from.
It's passionate, babe.
And that's my Aquarius sun coming out with the little source seeds. Of course I couldn't just plant a regular tree. It had to be something with the most innovative, cutting edge technology.
Right.
So
that nobody else really knows about.
Yeah.
Typical.
Okay, so we've talked about quite a bit. We've taken you all on a journey. What do you say we move into a little bit of integration, baby?
Yeah, let's do integration.
Cool.
Voodoo,
you ready? She's ready.
Okay.
So let's get in a comfortable seat, or even lay down if you'd like. We're just going to get into a little bit of meditation, maybe a little bit of visualization, and just start to breathe. Closing down your eyes or offering a soft gaze. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And imagining that red laser beam going from the root of your tailbone, connecting down, sinking down, linking down all the way to the heart of the earth. You may feel it, you may see it, or you just may simply know it's happening. Either way is perfect. And at the same time, visualizing that golden laser beam going from your crown all the way up into space, connecting you with your unique soul star, your guiding light. So much gratitude to the cosmos and to the earth. And both of those energies meet in the middle at your heart center. I invite everyone to place both hands over their heart now, breathing into your heart space. And we're going to do a little bit of sound. We're going to invoke some sound to calm the vagus nerve and to spread this beautiful vibration out to not only our own fields, but to all of our friends and family, and that's the entire universe. So we're going to make some sound using the sound of ah, and we're going to do this 3 times. So deep inhale, exhale ah. One more. Amazing. Coming back to a sweet, soft, gentle breath. Just feel into your body, into the space around you. Notice the peace that you've already cultivated. And just begin to use your imagination and visualize yourself next to a beautiful, old, large tree. It can be any sort of tree. Whatever pops up for you is absolutely perfect. And this is your special healing tree. Just begin to connect with this ancient piece of nature. Look at all of its different colors. Feel it. Really connect with it. Maybe you sit under the tree next to the trunk. Maybe you're hugging it. Maybe you're just simply gazing at it with so much love. Connect with this tree now in whatever way that's calling to you. And send so much gratitude to this tree. And maybe send something, maybe some energy, some thought, some memory that you have that you've been holding on to that you know you don't need to hold on to anymore, that you'd like to let go of. Just allow whatever that is, allow that to transfer to this tree. So maybe you just imagine that that energy is floating from your body into this tree. Maybe you're putting your hands on the tree, allowing that energy to transfer, whatever way works for you. Just allow that transfer of energy to happen now. And the tree will use this energy, will transmute it, will use it for something else. And the earth will use this as energy. It will recycle it. So the tree thanks you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sending gratitude to yourself, feeling lighter now that this transfer has taken place. So much gratitude. Slowly coming back to your physical body, feeling yourself in your space, coming back with all this peace and gratitude that you've been cultivating, bringing that back into your 3D reality. When you're ready, slowly opening up your eyes, coming back to the here and now. Awesome.
Loved it.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of tree did you see?
The tree for my hypnosis.
Oh. Wow, that is your tree.
It's my tree, man. It's my healing tree. So, yes, this concludes our episode. If you're new here, we can be found at Barebone Lovers on all of our platforms. We're on YouTube, Patreon, Instagram, TikTok. So find us there. And, you know, it's important to just know, take with you whatever resonates, and whatever doesn't, you can leave behind.
Totally. So much gratitude to everyone.
Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Okay.
Great.
Cool.